Hello and welcome to a Patreon FPL mini-pod, but now it's just the two of us. Just the two of us, Chuck.
We can make it if we try, just the two of us. You and I.
I knew I'd lead you into a song.
I was waiting. Thanks, mate. I was waiting for Hey There Sports Fans, but next time.
Oh, God, yeah. Maybe I hadn't even thought about that. Should I retire it or not? I don't know. Okay, we'll talk about that. But anyway.
Production meeting, yeah, great for the first one.
Yeah, why not? So we've cut out the deadwood. Just me and you now.
Transatlantic driftwood.
He's going to hate that.
The best ones. Ones you all want to listen. He's not listening to this. He's
That's
not
true,
listening.
actually. That's true. We'll say what we like, can't we? Okay. This might go out on the main feed. We'll see. So I suppose I should say that you can become a Patreon on patreon.com/milesoffsidepod, and then you can get all these FPL mini pods all the time where you can ask us questions directly. But it might not. So we'll see. We'll just go straight into it, shall we? So we've got questions from our Patreons. Then we'll go through what we've decided is our final, in inverted commas, game week one team, and then we'll both do a differential game week one pick. We're going to keep the tallies of that as we go, so we're going to pick a player under 10% owned that we think is going to do well this week, and then we'll keep a running tally of that through the season and see how we go. But let's go straight into it. And Jeff Pedder asks, very simple, basically just Son or Bruno.
Bruno or Son. It's been a big debate, isn't it, at the minute? The whole, what is it? Twitter say Fernan, yes, or Bruno? Pricks. Wish I could mute it, but never mind. I had Bruno a long time ago. It feels like a long time ago in my team, and every draft I had, I've preferred Son in rather than Bruno. I've always thought I was going to have Salah in my team, and that extra 2 million you get is a bit better for me, for Son, and something a bit different. Tough first fixture against City, but this is the time probably to play City. His ownership's only 22% compared to Bruno's probably over 50 by now. So price changes are right there. And, he's then got Wolves, Watford, Palace, which he always scores against. He's a tough one, but then Arsenal as well. So for me, Son, easily.
Right, okay. See,
you're going to say Bruno
I've
now,
gone
aren't
the other
you?
way. Yeah, I have. I've gone Bruno. I've done the odd draft without him, and I've just gone, no, I feel like I'm spending money for the sake of it. Son's a weird one because at 10 million, he's like a price bracket all of his own, isn't he? In the mids this season. I don't know, slight bit of uncertainty with Kane and how they're going to line up. I love Son. I love Son so much. Love watching him. He's a great player. But I think I'm too afraid to go without Bruno. And if I go with Bruno, then I can never get a draft going where I can afford Son as well. But I don't like the fact I'm being led by fear, but I think I am. I'm being led by the fear of the ownership.
The weirdest one for me is I've seen people that have had Salah, Bruno and Son in their team, which is fair enough, but they've got the armband on Salah and their vice captain on Son. And for me, if you're going to have a 12 million player in your team and you're considering vice captaining someone playing against City over him, then is that really where you want the money to be? And filtering down, I think that's kind of the difference maker for me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to have a player that expensive, they have to be a captain pick. If you're not going to go for, it's either Salah or Bruno are your captains. That's simply it. So if you're not happy with, if Salah doesn't play it, going to Bruno when they're playing Leeds, that just feels a bit wrong to me. And maybe your team's imbalanced in other places.
Right. I think we've been terribly unhelpful there, but that's maybe a little look into how our teams are going to line up.
We never said it. We never said it was advice. We just said we're talking about FPL. This is
okay.
it.
Yeah, fine. Okay, let's go to the next question. It's Andy Penpraise from Sutton. He asks, who the top choice is for midfielders in the 6 million to 7.5 range?
Well, I went first to last one, so you want to go, so I don't take any of your answers.
Fair enough. I find this a bit difficult because I almost think we're talking about two different price brackets here. Because if I just answer it in its purest form, then I would say Rafinha because I don't think
Right.
he's left my team at any point. In every little tinker I've done, I've left him in there. He was my one success story from last season. The one player I managed to get on early enough because I liked how he played, and then he actually started going, and it felt like the only success story I had. Again, really fun to watch as well. It really makes Leeds tick. So if I was just going to answer it in its purest form, that'd be my top choice. But I feel like you've got a tranche of players at 7.5 that are borderline premium options. So I'm, another little spoiler, I'm on Gundogan at the minute.
Same.
He feels like, oh right, okay, so he feels like about as certain as you can get in the sort of pep roulette at the minute. I'm certain he'll line up for Man City's first game. I'm probably going to end up, or the vague plan is to move him towards Mount once Mount's settled and the Chelsea fixtures clear up. But yeah, for me, I feel like you're almost talking about two different price brackets there, the 7.5 and then everything underneath. So I'd be sort of saying Rafinha and Gundogan, basically.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough, and you see that a lot. And Rafinha is getting hyped up, and I'm high on Leeds. I've had Harrison in that position the whole time. $500,000 cheaper. He was he was second in the team for expected goals, actual goals, expected assists, and actual assists last year. Goals he was behind Bamford, and assists he was behind Rafinha, but not by a lot. And he's 5.3% owned. So I think at 6 million, the bottom end of your range there is quite a good one to go for.
Yeah.
Like you said, Gundogan. I've got Greenwood as well because of the amount of United players that are out at the minute at 7.5, and as a mid, potentially playing as a striker. That's quite good for early season. But again, I've got an eye to move him to Mason Mount because I think at 7.5, like he's incredible value. Like some of the Chelsea assets are properly priced to buy, and one of the best players in the league in midfield that can run that team at 7.5. Yes. Otherwise, I think there's a lot of wait and sees, like Wendy and Bailey at Villa, maybe the new guy Trincao at Wolves, or Trinsol, or however you pronounce it, the Portuguese player, because he's 6 million. So if he's playing up front on the wing with crossing in balls to Jimenez, like we know what he's about. So
yeah.
And then otherwise, like Souček hasn't been spoken about a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. Yeah, what price does he come in at? I haven't seen Souček. 6. He's creeps in at 6, does he? Okay,
yeah,
that's interesting.
I think it's just because he's not that glamorous as potentially probably like your fourth midfielder. You might want something a bit more exciting, hunty. But I think if most people go for the structure, don't they, that they have one big, maybe one around the 9-10, then a 7.5, a 6, a 4.5, a 5, something like that. So, but downgrading to him might give you a bit more funds to have 2 6 millions as your 4/5, and you can have a bit more fun with it. But
yeah, fair enough. I do like the Harrison shout. He was really good in the second half of the season for Leeds.
Yeah,
I had the double up in midfield on Rafinha and Rafinha got injured. Sorry, didn't he? I mean the double up between him and Bamford, because Bamford ended up staying in my team for much longer than I assumed in the end.
Yeah, all of us. He actually appeared in my team when I didn't think he would. So that's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so Tom Townley asks, if Kane goes to City and Lukaku to Chelsea, who would you rather have, assuming Lukaku comes in at 11 million?
I suppose the question within this, to be the Oscar in the situation, is what do you think Lukaku comes in at? 11, 10.5, 11.5?
I think he probably comes in at 11.5 because wasn't he priced at 11 before?
You know what? I can't actually remember. I feel like he was around that.
Yeah, so I think it'd be 11 minimum. Yeah, as it stands, like if Kane moves to City, I'd rather have Kane. He's going to have an extra couple of weeks rest because he won't be playing until game week 3 or whatever. If when he makes it to City, he's just going to slot in as the goal poacher that they need. You would hope. If he ends up there, I think you just got to find a way to get him in. To be honest, but equally, Lukaku becomes a definite when Chelsea have a fixture swing about game week 7, I think, where their fixtures really clear up because they've got a horrible start, Chelsea. So, I mean, look, if you're there, if you've then got to get Kane and Lukaku, then it's wildcard time, isn't it? Because you've got to totally rip up your team and redistribute funds. But just the two-way choice, I would go Kane to start with. But yeah, I've got my eye on Lukaku for when the fixtures swing.
Yeah, I think it's not quite as cut and dry necessarily. I think if you have Kane, you have to be prepared for the fact that City would rest him for any little thing, whereas he wouldn't get that rest at Tottenham, for example, and he's probably going to get less minutes, which might be frustrating in some ways. I don't see as much of that happening with Lukaku. I'd also say, I mean, City are going to win a lot of penalties, so that works for Kane, but I reckon Lukaku takes them off Jorginho, potentially. Because he was a penalty taker before anyway, so that will be interesting. I think it's good. It's both teams. I could see having either. Having both would be mad. I mean, it goes against what everyone's kind of doing now of spending big in the midfield. I mean, that would be amazing, especially both teams. Both teams, their top scorers were Gundogan and Jorginho last year, and all their goals were so spread about. I mean, City's top 5 goal scorers were 13, 10, 9, 9, 9, and Chelsea's was 7, 6, 6, 6, 5. So it's, you put in an actual 20 goal a season person in there, and like we all know what Chelsea are lacking, and we know what City are lacking now that Aguero's gone. So I would say, just purity, I'd go Lukaku over Kane, but it's much of a muchness. Just to be different to you, and it's not intentional, but I think it depends on how your team would be set up. Like if you've got other locks in your team, then and you've got a stronger bench for like if Kane doesn't play, like that's been such a big draw for him at his price point at Tottenham. Like he's going to start every single game he's fit, and he's going to play 90 minutes, whether he should or shouldn't. And so if that element comes out, like 12 million? Yeah, that's a lot.
Okay, right. Well, let's slightly lighten it. Tom then also asks of you, what's the best FPL team name you've seen this season? I like yours in Fantrax. I don't know if it's the same in FPL.
No, sadly, there's not enough letters to have Backman Werner Overdrive. I'm so upset. I thought about doing Erdegaard as the third word, but then it just gets a bit too tenuous, I'm seeing a lot. I was looking through mini leagues to try and see some other team names, and pending moderation must be a new thing that FPL are doing because so many people have that as their name. I don't know whether it's inappropriate stuff or whether that's a genuine one, but that made me chuckle because it really confused me at first.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I mean, what about you? Like this, it's not often you see new ones these days, is it?
No. I've personally gone for Mason Mount me.
Brilliant.
But I haven't seen any really good ones yet. I'm just looking through a league I've got now that it's all very generic and very poor. So I don't think there's any particularly brilliant puns I've got there. We'll say Earth, Wind and Maguire is a nice one. But yeah. Anyway.
Oh no! Now I've got the toot horn in my head. I've got the England band in my head. No.
God, sorry.
Why did you do it to me? Fuck.
And Tom triples up with the questions and asks, "What are your aims for the season, other than to beat each other?"
Other than to beat each other, that is what I want. I feel like I'm a bit remiss in this answer because I have actively said on the main pod how against overall rank I am. So I'm just, but to actually get inside 100k would probably be good because I haven't done that. I don't know if I ever did it way back when. I lost that email address, so I can't check the scores. But otherwise, 60 points a week, that gets you to 2280 for the whole season, which would be it's quite a good kind of aiming point, I think. And also, beating you pricks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that is the thing. I do agree with you that the mini leagues what make it fun. I suppose it's just the 100, like you say, 100k rank. That's got to put you competitive in most mini leagues, hasn't it? So I think it's a good benchmark to aim for.
Yeah, and like we said with the scores, the game going up, and I predicted it quite well that it's just ticked over 5 million players today as entrants. So when we recorded before, what was it, like 2.7? I don't think it was.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
It's nearly doubled. So by the end of the season, you're looking at 9 million. Well, 8.5 million ghost teams and about 500,000 people who are actually playing.
Still playing. Yeah. Okay, let's go to Mark Daffin. What the chuff is going on with Abraham? And should I put Lacazette in the bin? Well, let's deal with Abraham first. The rumour is Roma?
Roma. The Roma to link up with main man Mourinho for like 30 odd million. But then also there's Arsenal as well, which is interesting. I guess if he wants to stay in London and Arsenal are going to pay that money, I don't see it myself really. I think he's kind of consigned to definitely going. If he does as a starting striker at 6.5 million, like that's insane value. Like he's really been priced down this year. When he plays, he's an excellent asset to have. If he does go to Arsenal, there is an asterisk there. But they probably get goals. Him, Saka, Emile Smith-Rowe, Aubameyang in there, Lacazette as well. Like there's some goals to be had. And, at 6.5, I think if you're looking at Ivan Toney at 6.5, then Tammy Abraham at 6.5 is pretty decent value, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, do we even bother addressing the Lacazette question there at the end?
My retort would be, well, why was Lacazette out of the bin? Like 8.5 mil. Like, I don't. I did say with these pods as well, I don't want to give people advice that tries to make their team like my team. But if you're going to buy Lacazette at 8.5, get Bamford at 8. Like it's 24 goal involvements versus 15 last year, and 3,000 minutes versus 1,900. Like, granted, okay, Lacazette, per minute will get more, but if he's playing 7 less fixtures, there was only 7 fixtures, but 1,100 minutes difference between the two. And, their first 3 games, they've got Chelsea and City, so not interested. And if, even if you're just going to target the first 3 games, get Callum Wilson or something at 7.5. Like, I can't see Lacazette outscoring him, so...
Yeah, he's one you can...
Lacazette!
I don't think it was a genuine question, to be honest.
All the time and the money in the world, and you start with Alexander Lacazette in your fucking thing.
I mean, to put a slightly serious thing on it, if he does go on a run of form, you could always get on him. But, I mean, it's nowhere near the starting lineup.
He's not... Especially chances are most people's top forwards are 7.5, 8. Like, you can find an extra billion. It's not the end of the world. Because... this is a bit of a tangent because we don't have it. And I mean, it probably feeds into our teams. But like Luke Shaw being like 55% owned at 5.5 million, like he's played 1 preseason game, and I stupidly put something out on Twitter and just got lambasted a bit. Like, you should have him because points. But like, he's 55% owned. His ownership isn't going to rapidly go up the same as other players. Plus, even if it goes up 0.2, like it's 5.7, you get on him. Like it's so weird. It's proper like post Euros Man United tax on him.
Yeah, definitely. His points have never been that amazing, Luke Shaw. So, like you say, I think it's the Man United thing, isn't it?
It has to be.
The ownership's just insane. But yeah, post Euros, I think there's Grealish has got massive ownership as well, and I just can't see him starting to begin with. So yeah. Anyway, and then Andy Penpraise, last question. It's just genuine question. Benteke? Question mark.
I mean, genuine answer. Yes.
Yes, please.
So, what are your thoughts before I give my very biased answer?
I mean, I've always liked Benteke. I think it's been a shame that he's never found the form you would have wanted him to with the promise he showed when he was back at Villa, But yeah, I mean, he finished the season on a stormer, didn't he? And it'd be great if he can get on the end of some of the balls that hopefully your young new recruits will be putting in for him. So I mean, yeah, I don't hate it, but again, it's just one you can get on if it happens, can't you? I mean,
Yeah.
Palace's fixtures are quite bad to start with, so let's
Yes,
give him a break to start with. Give Vieira a break to start with as well, and then yeah, you can assess it down the line and possibly bring him in as a wild card if you want to. You know.
Yeah, I think there's definitely that. Like, I've got him in my team, but it's because of price point. Simply, like,
Right.
I didn't want my third striker being. I mean, if we just look at prices, so him, Ivan Toney, Neil Maupay, Rodrigo, and Alan Saint Maximin are the 6.5 strikers. So, apart from whatever you say about Tony, I'd say Benteke is the best out of those. Below that, you've got Welbeck, Pookie, Adam Armstrong, Joe Linton, Fabio Silva. Again, he's better than all of them.
Yeah.
And at 5.5, you've just got Watford. So, and then 0.5 million more than him is Chris Wood and Shay Adams. Like, right. Chris Wood, fair enough, you know what you're going to kind of get. But Shay Adams, Southampton at the minute, who knows what they're going to be? They've just sold Vestergaard to Leicester, so they have no defence anymore. So, I am quite high on him, and I have him in my team naturally. And like you said, 7 goals in his last 13. But it's just from what I've seen, even when he wasn't in the pre-season squad, everything has been built around him being there. And that's what I think is the most interesting. Like, we know what his strengths are, and Vieira seems to be setting up the team to play to those strengths, be that with crosses into the box or using him as a focal point to, bring in Zaha's, Eze when he's back, Elise, Gallagher, receiving balls from the centre-backs and that kind of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised, genuinely, if he got 20 goal involvements this year, considering he did 12 in a really shit Palace team. And in his first season, he got 15 goals and 2 assists with us. So, I can see that being replicated. And I might have made a bet with Oscar that he'll outscore Timo Werner for the year. So
you put your money where your mouth is, yeah. I love that you've gone for him. That's brilliant. I really love that.
He's on my bench, but yeah, I've got him.
Well, yeah.
He's on my bench.
Right. Okay, then. Well, why don't we let that link us into going through your team then, Chuck? Let's take. So, obviously, we reserve the right to change these.
Absolutely.
This is Friday evening as we record. So, Thursday evening as we record. So, still got time to change it. But this is what we're going with now.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm conscious that this is a bit heftier than we would normally do. But I think it's FPL Eve, it's Premier League Eve. So we'll go through this. So my team at the minute. I will go through lineup well. For some reason, I've got Guaita in goal, but that will probably just change to another 4.5 mil, whatever. My back three is then Joao Cancelo, Virgil van Dijk, and Kufal. Then I've got a midfield 5. I've got Greenwood, Son, Harrison, Salah, and Gundogan. And my 2 up front, Ivan Toney and Patrick Bamford. My bench, I've got Runarsson, the backup keeper at Arsenal, because he's 4 million. Right. Simicas, or Stimicas, I'm going to call him, after you, the 4.0 Twitter Liverpool defending darling. I then have Christian Benteke and Luke Ayling. And I also currently have $1 million in the bank.
Okay, earning interest. Lovely.
Naturally.
Okay, so you've gone through with it and gone Bruno-less. I like the distribution of money in that from the sounds of it, I must admit. Like, especially in defence. So you've gone you really are eschewing the sort of the Twitter template, shall we say. I mean, I don't see people with Van Dijk.
I haven't on Twitter, but he's 11% owned. So, and I think his year out, like Oscar obviously has the player quality index and those kind of things that catalogues points per minute per pound and a few other bits and pieces to go in there. So I know it's you can't really use this, but if you use Van Dijk's score from 2 seasons ago, his last full season, he got about 180 points. If you put him into the PQI this year, he's the second best rated defender. Okay. And we spoke about Trent being about the 7th, 8th or so. So if Van Dijk replicates those numbers about 180 to be pound for pound worth it, Trent needs to be clearing 200 by I think it was about 208 he needs to get. So, I'm okay for that extra $1 million to spend somewhere else and still have a player that can get, Probably pop up with
Okay.
4 goals, a couple of assists in the season.
Yeah,
Um,
probably. Yeah.
so yeah, that's just my kind of thing. Get that extra mil, have it somewhere else, and I've got a bit of insurance. The price points of the midfield: 12.5, 10, 2 7.5s, and a 6. I can flex
Yeah.
there. When Simicast, when I need to bin him off, I've got an extra million there to play with, and so yeah, I'm
Let's
quite
talk
happy.
about Simicast quickly. So, like, I see him as a total no risk pick. Like, the only reason for me that you wouldn't pick him is if you want Mane or Jota in your team, because obviously, and you know, you might not have Trent, but you've got Van Dijk, so you're using up that Liverpool slot. So that's the only reason I can think of that you wouldn't have him. I mean, I think Robertson will probably be longer than a few weeks personally. But
Right.
even if he's not, it's so low risk. It's 4 million defender for Liverpool. It just seems overthinking it not to go for him. It's just I don't know. I just see a few people on Twitter just being like, "Oh, well, in a few weeks you're gonna have to wildcard to change your team." Like, no, you're not.
Well,
Not
but
for a 4 million defender.
and the thing is, if your main focus of issues is only having a 4.0 defender or not, then chances are your team's probably all right.
Yeah,
Like you're probably
yeah,
quite set, and there's no difference for me. Again, unless you're looking to get in a Jota or a Mane, which I mean, I won't own Mane all season because of his price is ridiculous, I think. But
yeah,
um, I can have a 4.0 Liverpool defender or I can have a 4.0 Norwich defender. Like, why would I
yeah,
want a fucking Norwich defender? Like,
yeah,
why?
yeah,
It doesn't matter. Oh, then you get the extra spots. So if someone's going to sit on my bench, which I'm not playing Simicus, his first bench slot, which I've got, probably like a full playing bench apart from my goalkeeper. I'm happy with him being there. It doesn't
mm,
necessarily matter. I think if it does become difficult if he drops in price a little bit, and you then get stuck with a 3.8. But that's the game, really.
yeah.
That's it. It's part and parcel. But he's 16% owned now. And if he gets an assist or whatever in the first week, or he'll be flying. Probably everyone will get him in then, and yeah, and you just ride it. But that's it. Stop. You have to try to realise that it's 38 weeks. Like if you make a fuck up, whatever. But I personally, I wouldn't be starting him because I think I've got other players that are better options. But I don't see
Okay.
a problem with having him in your squad or whatever. But let's go through
Mm.
your team. Again, conscious of time here.
Yeah, no worries. Well, talk about formation. It's a weird one because as I said in the pod, I've not changed a great deal, and I think I'm as flexible as I've ever been. So I'm starting the first game with 4-3-3, but I think
Okay.
most weeks it'll be 3-4-3. So I found an extra couple of 0.5s by having Tsimikas, and I've also found another 0.5 by going off of Luca Dean and going on to Soufal as well, same as you. So I'm going to have
Okay.
rotating goalkeepers of Sanchez and Meslier.
Okay.
I've then got, I think, so let's assume 3-4-3 for most of the time. I've got Alexander Arnold again. Especially after talk to you, I just driven by fear of ownership. So there you go. I've obviously got Simicast, and I think I would probably play him most weeks that he's available and replacing Robbo, and Soufal. So that'll probably be my back three most of the time. And then my other two defenders that I've got on the bench would be Veltman and Ben White. They can rotate and come in if required. Then my four-man midfield is Rafinha, Salah, Gundogan and Fernandes. Billy Gilmore is my 4.5. He'll probably be benched most times, but as I've talked about, 4.5 gets points fine. And then my front three is Tony. I managed to crowbar him, get him up from Pookie to Tony, so I'm very happy about that.
Thank God. I was fearing
Bamford,
you then if you started the
yeah.
season you move fucking Pookie.
Yeah, true. It's
He's
maybe
getting a
a
hat
bit
trick first day, so never mind.
bit short-sighted. Bamford and Antonio. I like going Bamford just because everyone else seems to be going Ings, which I understand because of Villa's opening fixtures. But I just like Bamford for the long term. I always aim to try and sort of wild card around about There's usually a 2-week break around game week 11, 10, something like that. So I always think a little bit more long term, I think, than some people.
You normally are quite good with your first wild card. If in the last few years, I remember you getting really late, like knocking on the doors of Christmas before your first
Last year it was, yeah, because I wanted to do something weird with the bench boost, because there was some, obviously last year was very strange. But anyway, yeah, last year I went all the way to Christmas, which I don't like. I like having the 2-week break, not because of chasing price rises, because I don't think that really happens anymore, but just like having 2 weeks to play with it. But yes, I've gone Bamford because I just think he's long term a better option than Ings. And then Antonio he's had a great pre-season.
He's a fun player to own.
Yeah. I think in that 7.5, there's others you could go for. Watkins, obviously. But I really like having Antonio. So I'm feeling pretty settled with this.
I think that's good. I think it's good balance. I think there's options. You're comfortable with having. I'm more comfortable with having like a 4.5 on a team that isn't that great, as opposed to a 4.0 defender. Because if your 4.0 defender plays, they could get negative, whereas Gilmore's not going to get negative unless he gets a red card, basically, or an own goal or something. So. Personally, I don't think that's a bad pick, and you've got options there. If you end up not wanting to stick with Bruno, you can literally move to anyone. Got that flexibility. You touched on, just to kind of end this on players, with people going Ings and Watkins and not really sure. Do you think that Villa's output increases enough that they don't end up splitting the difference? If you see what I mean, like as in. Ings doesn't perform to his Southampton numbers because Watkins is there as well. Or do you think with their renewed attack, it just doesn't matter and they score an extra 15, 20 goals, say?
Yeah, it's a fair point. I don't think they do up it enough. I think there's going to be I think there'll be a possible drop in Watkins' output, which I thought was quite good, to be honest. Generally, people didn't like him on Twitter. Well, people didn't like him on Twitter if they didn't own him. That was basically what was going on. But I think, there probably will be a drop in Watkins. It's hard to say whether there'll be a drop in Ings' output, because I think he was struggling with service at Southampton. Anyway, so he'll probably, his output will probably go up naturally, because I just think Villa are better attacking wise. But I don't, I know they've done bits in the transfer window, but losing Grealish, and it's.
I mean, the whole thing was Grealish, which makes it funny that their intention wasn't to sell him. Was that the plan for the 3 big signings made was to replace him, which I thought was kind of like they've done really well here to distract the fans, but also they said no, we were probably going to sell him because it hit the release clause or whatever. So signing Buendia, Bailey, and Ings to replace him in a very Moneyball kind of way, they did score 55 goals last year, which is pretty good, but it's mid-table. I think that puts them about 10th for goals. I don't think they get up to sort of your 70 goal mark, and so if they're sitting around the same points, I mean, I don't know how much they outperformed last year. It's interesting, but I'm fine to just wait on Villa, because I think there's you could go Watkins or Ings, and I think you could very easily end up trying to just shuffle between them with sideways moves, which I'm not a huge fan of.
Yeah. Well, there you go then. So that's, like you say, gone on a bit longer than we maybe usually will, but it's opening game week. It's exciting.
Opening game week, we're excited. It's football eve, and it's Arsenal, and we don't care. Right?
Such a bad opener. I assume you're captaining Salah?
Oh yeah, sorry, we're going captains. Yeah, Captain Salah. It hasn't moved off of him. I'm very much going to actually listen to the sage advice of our good friend Ash Kernsworth, former of the Gaffer Tapes parish, who just pick the best midfielder and captain them. So that's very much going to be my approach this season. And if Salah's going to get 250 points, away you go. It's
I think we're going to see ridiculous captaincy numbers on Salah this week, because they could go. It's Norwich, isn't it? So they could go absolutely mad. Right, okay, and let's do this. So we're going to do a differential peak a differential pick every week that is under 10% owned, and we're going to alternate who gets first pick, and then we're going to keep a running tally of the scores that player gets. We should maybe sort out some sort of forfeit or bet or something. We'll figure that out. But anyway, I've got the first pick, age before beauty, so
Naturally,
I will go with, because it's one of them players that he could go mad, and when he does, or if he does, that ownership will rocket. But I'm going to go for the other bit of Liverpool's midfield and say Mane.
Sadio Mane.
Less than 5% owned as it stands. Firm Bobby's not playing, so with Jota in the mix now, like Mane ought to be playing for his place a bit more than I think he has been sometimes. So yeah, let's go for Mane to be the one who routs Norwich as a differential pick.
His price is just such a shame.
Yeah.
I mean, fair enough, he's had some big scores, but he got a price increase on a year where he underperformed the previous year by 50 points. Like,
insane.
Let us have nice things, you pricks. Similarly, I'm going to pick a player who is at a price point where you'd probably not buy him on a team that you're definitely going to wait and see on. However, we call this an emotional hedge, and at 1.5% owned, I'm going to pick Christian Pulisic. Came on in the Super Cup. Came on in the Super Cup for Hakim Ziyech. There is no team in England that he has scored more on than Crystal Palace. So, just keep an eye out for that one. I do think at 8.0, he is not priced to buy. He'd have to go pretty astronomical. I think Mount at 7.5 is a better option. But for the purposes of this, Christian Pulisic. So at least if he scores, I can get something out of it.
Fair enough. Maybe one for if you're playing like a 1 week fantasy game. There's a lot of those knocking about, where you pick 5 players for 1 week, so yeah.
Yeah, okay. Definitely not a bad shout for 1 day fantasy.
Yeah, I like that, the emotional hedge. Okay, well, let's wrap it up there then, Chuck. It's been a delight to chat to you for half an hour about fantasy. I love it.
Yes, and the rest. Let's have a good game week, everyone. Remember there's 37 more, so don't throw all your toys out of the pram after game week 1. And
you're talking to yourself there, Chuck? Talking yourself off the ledge there?
Oh, sorry, am I still recording? Yeah. I'm going to tear all my team apart right now.
Fair enough. We'll jump on for another update once you've done that then. All right. Good luck, everyone. Good luck, Chuck.
Yeah, good luck, Ian, I guess. No, seriously, good luck.
Cheers, mate.
You'll need it.